Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about the basics, okay? We're going back to the basics because every single time I ask someone what they want to know about makeup, they say, I want to know how to put on foundation. That's like one of the most common things, that and eyebrows. I am going to do an eyebrow tutorial at some point, but I'm still in the process of letting them grow out. I know. I've been saying that in like my last three, 4 videos that I posted. I've been saying that, but my brows are still in recovery. So I would rather do a brow video when my brows are done than one when they're not done. I'm also going to be showing you guys an easy, simple, everyday makeup look that you can wear to work, you can wear going out, you can wear to school. It's very simple, very easy, and it's one of the makeup looks that I use daily. If you haven't checked out my natural makeup tutorial, like just natural light makeup, go all the way down to the bottom. It's not that hard because I only have like 3-4 videos up on my channel. I think it's only 4 videos up on my channel now. Go to the very first one, and that is my natural no makeup routine. Before we get into this video, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and make sure you click the bell icon so that you don't miss any new videos, okay? Foundation. Foundation is the base of every makeup look. Well, maybe not every makeup look, but it's pretty much the basics. Liquid foundation makeup, that's like where you start. So, step number 1 when applying foundation. You want to make sure that your face is clean and moisturized. So what I like to do is, I have my daily facial routine. I like to make sure that my face is washed, and then I like to do a face mask and then moisturize. Now, face mask is not a daily thing. That's not something that you do every day. And I think I mentioned it in my latest video, the black lipstick makeup look. Make sure that your daily skin routine is on point. The next thing that I like to do, or the next thing that should be done, is make sure that you have a good primer. So there are tons and tons of primers on the market. There's dewy face primers, there's mattifying skin primers, there's poreless primers, blurring primers, all that. Okay, there's color correcting primers. There's so many different primers, but because we're keeping it basic, I'm going to tell you about the 2 just basic primers and the ones that I use. So the types of primers that I usually like to stick with are blurring and smoothing primers and illuminating primers. I'm not a huge fan of mattifying primers. I've never been a huge fan of mattifying primers, but if you have oily skin or you're prone to oily skin throughout the day, mattifying primer is probably the way to go. These are all primers, okay? So this one is from ColourPop, and this is their Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Primer. So this is a moisturizing primer. And these 2 are from CVS. They're a drugstore brand. So what does a primer do? A primer acts as a barrier between your face and your foundation, as well as helping to smooth out any blemishes that you might have on your skin, fill in any pores, and it just helps the foundation application go on a lot smoother. So today I'm going to show you guys the Maybelline Master Prime Smooth and Blur base. You really do not need a lot. So what I like to do is most of the time I actually put it on my face. So I just go 1, 2. When you start to work in a primer, you want to work in a downward motion, because any like little baby hairs or anything that you might have on your face, you want it to smooth down. You don't want to raise your skin. You don't want to raise the hairs that you have on your face. So I like to work in a downward motion, and I focus on the areas where I do have blemishes and larger pores. So that is on the sides of my nose, my cupid's bow, or the top of my lip, and my chin area. So that is where my problem areas occur. So like I said, a primer acts as a base, a barrier between your skin, and the foundation. So it protects your skin, as well as helping it to go on, as well as to help the foundation to go on smoother. All right, so once that's soaked in, now we're moving on to foundation. So just like primers, there are tons and tons of types of foundation on the market. But like I said, we're keeping it basic. So I'm going to show you 3 foundation types that I have and that I usually stick. Okay, so like I mentioned, all different types of foundations, but the 3 types that I like to stick to are stick foundations, liquid foundations, and powder or cream to powder foundations. Now, I am not the biggest user of powder foundations. I do have them, they work in a pinch, but I more so like to stick with liquid and stick foundations. Stick foundations are really simple and easy, and that's actually what we're going to be using today because this is a, simple, quick, everyday makeup look. So with stick foundation, it's very simple and easy. All the ones that I showed you are from Maybelline, and they are drugstore brands, inexpensive. And this is their stick foundation from their Maybelline Fit Me line. And as you can see, I have used it quite a bit because it is amazing. So with any type of foundation, no matter what type it is, a little bit really does go a long way, especially if it is a full coverage foundation. Oh, that's what we have to talk about, coverage. There are different types of coverage that you can get with foundation. So you can get light to medium foundation, light to medium coverage, buildable coverage, sheer coverage, and then the almighty full coverage foundation. Now I like to stick in between sheer, I like to stick in between medium to buildable foundation. Full coverage, I've never been a full coverage type of person, but if you are, a little bit goes a very long way because a lot of the full coverage foundations are concentrated. And to avoid what we call cake face, which means your makeup will start to separate and it'll start to look like your skin is raised and you just look cakey, like you just have a cakey face. That is not a good thing. Okay, so with full coverage foundation, that rule is like really strong. A little bit goes a long way. Buildable coverage, medium to light to medium coverage, and also like buildable coverage is just as it is. You can build up to full coverage. With this one specifically, this is medium coverage and it is also buildable. I still believe that even if it's a sheer or light coverage foundation, a little bit still goes a very long way. So with stick foundation, very easy. I like to do X's. So I like to go 1, 2, 3. That's it. When it comes to the application process, when it comes to blending out, there are so many different ways to blend out. Just like I said, there's different ways to do everything. So you can either use your fingers, which I don't recommend. There's sponge, and then there's brushes. I like to switch back and forth, but lately I have been more into the sponge method because I found that lately the bristles on my brushes have been irritating my skin, and I don't know if it's because my skin is already dry or my skin is just all of a sudden becoming sensitive because they're clean. I make sure I clean my brushes, so it's not that. But I just find that I get a smoother application when I use a beauty sponge. So I have 2 sponges here. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard of the Beauty Blender sponge. Now, this is an actual company that created the Beauty Blender. I used to have the Beauty Blender. I will say that after using that and comparing it to dupes or more like, drugstore off-brand sponges, I'm just gonna tell you right now, go ahead and save yourself the $15 and go get yourself a sponge that works just as well, that only costs $5. So here I have 2 different sponges. So this one is the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge, and this is anywhere between $4.99 and $6 that you can get from CVS, you can get from the beauty supply store, and you can also get it on Amazon, and I will put the link down below where you can get it. This sponge is from ColourPop, and this sponge is also $5, and you can get it from their website, and I will link that down in my description box below as well. There's a lot of sponges that are on the market. You want to go for ones that are like super soft and like bouncy like this. I'm not a huge fan of the sponges. If they seem really stiff and like just really silicone-y, and you know, they don't really have much give, those aren't good sponges. These two are probably my favorite sponges, highly recommended, and also very, you know, like well known. Real Technique is a very well known company that does sponges, brushes, all that good stuff. They have a website. I'm going to show you guys the two ways of applying. So on this side of my face, I'm going to use the sponge, and on this side of the face, I'm going to use a brush. Well, with makeup brushes, foundation brushes all usually have the same kind of look to them. They are dense, short-haired brushes. Some are a little bit stiffer than others. So this was my very first foundation brush, and this is also from Real Technique, and this is their Miracle Complexion Foundation, all over face foundation brush, whatever. I got this from Amazon. It was $4.99 by itself, and then they also have one that comes in a set with this, the sponge, and I think another brush. But this one is also dense, but it's a little bit looser. As you can tell, you can see that it moves around a little bit more. Now these two are from Morphe, and this is the Morphe M439 brush, and this is the Morphe M444 brush. These are both liquid foundation brushes. They're both dense, flat head, short haired brushes, but one gives a little more, and this is the Morphe M439 brush gives a little bit more, so you have a little bit more, you know, like, I think you have a little bit more control when there's a little bit more give. And this one is not as giving, as you can see. It's very dense, very short, very tight. So it's really all about preference, whatever you want to go with. I do prefer the brushes that have a little bit more give. Some people prefer the brushes that, now I do like this brush, I'm not gonna lie, this is a good brush, but I will say I tend to only use this brush when I'm using like a really liquidy foundation, because it helps to spread it out more and it soaks up the product a little bit more, so that I'm not like it's just getting packed on my face. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start to blend out. So with the sponge, all you're doing is taking it and moving it around. Just like that. As you can see. Really see. And like I said, the stick is buildable, medium coverage, buildable coverage. So that's what I'm doing. I'm building upon it. You don't want to swipe, you don't want to push and twist, you really just want to lightly bounce, because if you swipe, then you're going to swipe the makeup off. I would recommend sponges for anyone who has, like if you have acne or if you have larger pores, the sponge is going to work a lot better than the brush, because the brush has bristles and it can, you know, aid in like raising the skin or irritating the skin. If you already have textured skin, this sponge will save your life. Okay, the sponge is probably the best. And on this side, I'm just gonna take it, and I like to use circular sweeping motions like this. So the brush is the exact opposite. You don't want to pat with the brush, because it has the bristles and it will leave little bristle marks all over the place. So with this, you want to make sure that you do light circular motions all over your face. Okay, there you go. And if you noticed, when I was applying the foundation, I didn't apply it all over my face. Like, I didn't cover every inch of space on my face with the foundation. That is because, back to the rule, a little goes a long way. You really only want to put it on to your cheeks, maybe your chin, your forehead, and then everything else in between, that's why you blend it out, because it fills out the rest of your face. Okay, so that is foundation, and now we're going to move on to concealer. So it's kind of the same deal with concealer. You have light coverage, you have medium coverage, you have full coverage concealer. When I do an everyday makeup look, I like to use light to medium coverage concealer because it just makes it look a little bit more, you know, like skin-like. Now, this is not a natural no makeup routine, but I still like to use a lighter coverage concealer in like my everyday look. My holy grail go-to is the L'Oreal Paris Infallible Pro Glow Concealer. This is very light to medium coverage concealer, and it also helps to illuminate under the eyes. So what is the purpose of concealer? Well, concealer can be used for a lot of things, really. So I'm gonna give you two examples. If you have a foundation that is probably a little bit too dark, you can get a concealer that's a little bit light or that is exactly your shade color to help even it out, and you don't look so like crazy. You know what I'm saying? But the most common use for concealer is to eliminate dark circles and brighten your under eye, giving you a youthful glow, and also eliminating under eye bags. So everyone has different ways of applying concealer. My favorite way is to do two triangles, one triangle under each eye. So go here, create the triangle, and then build it up to make it bigger. And I like to add it to my chin, the middle of my nose, and my forehead. I use concealer to illuminate my face and also conceal darkness, because sometimes, you know, it be the struggle when you're waking up in the morning. You just need a little concealer. And concealer is always best to it's always best to use a sponge with concealer. I have seen people use a brush. I personally don't like it. You have way more control with concealer with the sponge, especially because you are working under your eyes and you don't want it, yeah. And with concealer, you want it to stay in place. You don't want it to move. You definitely don't want it to swipe. So you just want to bounce in that same area here. And with concealer, it's okay to let it dry down a little bit, because like I said, you want it to stay in one place. You don't want it to go all over your face. So it is okay to let it dry down a little bit, especially under your eyes. So that's why I like to do my nose, my chin, my nose, and my forehead first, just to give my concealer just a couple seconds to dry down. And then I take my sponge and I just bounce it in the same area. I'm not really moving my sponge around that much. You just go ahead and do the same with the other eye. The next and final step when it comes to just basic foundation application, foundation and concealer application, is powder. Powder is used to help your makeup stay in place. Okay, basically like that last finishing thing that last layer that you put on your skin to make sure that your foundation, especially more so your concealer, does not move anywhere. And it also helps to soak up oil. And if you're going throughout the day, it just helps it to helps your concealer stay in place and not crease. I'm sounding like a broken record here, but just like everything else that I just mentioned, there are so many different types of powders. Okay. But I like to use translucent powder and banana powder. Those are the two that I like to stick with. Translucent powder is just exactly how it is. It's translucent. Anyone can use it, any shade, any skin tone. You do have to be a little bit careful though, because for darker skin, brown women, translucent powders, sometimes they can make you look a little bit ashy, but that is another video for another day. The two translucent powders that I have been loving so far from the drugstore are the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Translucent Powder and the Rimmel London Stay Matte Translucent Powder. These powders are great. They've been working for me. They're both around $5 to $6 each. And in the, as you can see, the Wet n Wild, there's a lot of product in here. So it's a really big one. There's two ways you can do it. You can bake, which is a very common thing in the makeup world, is where you take powder. I'm actually going to show you. I'm going to show you two things. So when you take the powder, you take a good amount of it and you place it under your eye, here, just wherever you want your foundation to just, and your concealer to stay. So baking, that's what you do. You put it in the places where you want it to stay. The most common places are under the eye, here on the jawbone if you do contour, on the forehead, and some people do the nose and around the mouth. And then you let it sit for about, I don't know, I guess anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes. I've never really heard anyone baking for over 5 minutes. But the concept is you're baking your face. You're making it stay, you're making it stick so that it lasts and you just don't have any problems. So that is what baking is, okay? And then there's also what I normally do is I just take the powder a little bit and just press it into my skin. And there we go. That's it. Because most of the time, I don't be having time for baking. But since we did it on this side, I'm going to do it on the other side. And that's what you do. You just let it sit. But us busy people who do not have time for this, it is perfectly fine to just take a little bit of your powder and stick it under your eyes, your chin, everywhere you place concealer. Okay, that is perfectly fine. So now I'm gonna go ahead and brush this off. All right, and that is basically, that's it. That's the basics of how to apply foundation and concealer. Okay, so just to recap before we get into the lookbook part of this video. Moisturizer. So, okay, here we go. Daily skincare routine. So that includes washing your face, moisturizing, and doing a face mask once or twice a week. Okay. Primer. Okay. Any kind of primer that you like. If you have oily skin, you would like to use a mattifying primer or oil control primer. If you have drier skin, you like to do a dewy primer or illuminating primer. And then just for normal, if you have normal to dry skin, illuminating primers work. Dewy skin primers work. Just regular primers work. Either way, you want to prime before you put on your foundation. Then you add your foundation. Then you add your concealer. And then you do a powder. So it's just 5 basic steps, really. And, you know, obviously you can go more in depth with that or however you want to go. But the 5 basic steps: moisturize, prime, foundation, concealer, and then powder. And then however you decide to go about it after that, that's fine. But this is just the basic steps. So now we're moving on into the actual look of this video. And this is going to be a brown, kind of like a brown smoky eye. And this is what I like to do for like everyday wear. Because we already did our foundation and everything, our lids are pretty much already prepped. Now, most of the time when I do eyeshadow, I do like to do my eyeshadow first. So I would prep my lids first, either with an eyeshadow base or use concealer and powder. But because we already did concealer and powder on the face, our eyelids are already prepped and we're just ready to go. Okay, so for today's look, I'm going to be using the Jaclyn Hill palette. I know this palette is so dirty, oh my gosh, but I use it so much. But yeah, so this is the Morphe collab with Jaclyn Hill. Well, this is the collab that Jaclyn Hill did with Morphe, or Morphe did with Jaclyn Hill, however you want to put it. But anyway, so this is a great palette and it has a lot of browns and neutrals in it, okay, besides, you know, these little over here. But it has a lot of browns and neutrals in it, and that is what we are going for today. But if you have Really any palette that has browns and neutrals in it, this look will work for you. So the first color that I'm going to go with is this chocolate brown, and this is lighter than this. So this is probably like, they had names, but I forgot. And I don't have the thing. So we're just gonna say light brown. Then I'm going to go into this. This is a shimmer shade. I don't know if you can tell, but it has a little bit of shimmer, and this is also a brown, but this is just a shimmer, and we're gonna put that on the right here, I guess on the bottom, top, whatever. You'll see where I put it. And then the last part, I'm going to take this gold foil shade and I'm gonna pop that on the inner corner to create a little bit of sparkle. So you picture on my timeline. Okay, so because this is beginner friendly everyday glam, I'm not going to apply any top liner. So what I'm gonna do is go a little bit heavy on the mascara. So this look also does not require lashes. And this is my Lancome mascara, and it is amazing. It makes my lashes look so nice. So a quick tip when you are applying mascara: if you have a little mini compact like this, which will really come in hand, you, instead of holding your compact like this, you want to hold it just slightly under so that you're looking at your lashes from like a bottom angle. Okay, so you should see the bottom of your lashes when you're looking at it like this. Okay, and then when you want to take your mascara and then stick it right there and roll up. Okay, and that's a quick little hack. It helps to make sure that you catch every single lash, and it's just a better angle, and then you end up making sure that you go the length instead of going right here and you're only catching the top of your lashes. So if you look at it from the bottom, you catch the whole lash. See? And then repeat on the other eye. Just a little bit of blush. And the best way to apply blush for a rounder face is to perk up your cheeks. Do kind of like that fake smile, like, you know how someone comes and tells you a joke is really not funny, you'd be like yeah, so you want to do that, and then just perk your lips. Start with the apples of the cheeks and then move up. That's how you apply blush. Okay, all right, lastly, for this look, I am going to take some liquid highlighter, just a tad. Now this you can apply with your fingers, and you only need the smallest bit, okay? Okay, and you want to apply highlighter the same way you kind of apply blush. Just do that little fake little smile there, and you want to apply it right on your cheekbones. Now this part is optional. I just usually like to do like a little bit of brown eyeshadow under my on my lash line because it just helps to bring out, you know, your eyes, carves out your eyes a little bit more. Then a setting spray, trusty setting spray. Oh, these brows are, oh. And then for lips, I just like to use a simple gloss. You could use just a clear gloss, or you could use, this is my absolute favorite, the NYX Butter Gloss. I also use this in my natural makeup video. And I think I'm gonna use this one today. Just apply that all over. Alright guys, that is all for my video today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that it was actually helpful to you when it comes to applying foundation and doing this just simple everyday makeup look. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, and please hit the bell icon so that you never miss any new videos, and I will see you in my next video.